All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to talk about Brock Purdy and just some NFL executives' takes on Brock Purdy. So there was that quarterback list that came out, and Brock Purdy is not in as the top 10, and Brock Purdy's not in the top 10. So you have Patrick Mahomes at 1, Joe Burrow 2, Josh Allen 3, Lamar Jackson 4, Matthew Stafford at 5, Justin Herbert 6, C.J. Stroud 7, Aaron Rodgers 8, Jared Goff 9, Dak Prescott 10. So that's the list. So there's no Brock Purdy. I do disagree with the list. And I think we'll talk more about this list during the week as well. Maybe I'll give you my list. But yeah, Brock Purdy's not on there. And Brock Purdy last year, played like an MVP candidate. 49ers had their struggles during the season, but I thought Purdy played well. And the reason, though, so you had two takes on Brock Purdy. Now, one of them was a positive, one of them was a negative in his favor. So one NFL executive said, it's hard. It was hard to keep him out of the top 10. He willed that team to the Super Bowl. Only right to give him serious consideration because he was on the honorable mentions. And then another anonymous NFC executive found it really easy. You're not going to win because of him in most cases. He's a really good system quarterback. And that's something that has been talked about a lot, that Brock Purdy is a system quarterback. The only reason why he's good is because of the system that he's in. And I don't know. For me, I think it's both. I think he does benefit from the system that he's in, but I also do think you got to give him credit because, the 49ers, they made it to the Super Bowl last year, and they made it to the NFC Championship game the year before that, and he got hurt, unfortunately, in that game against the Eagles. But I don't know. For me, I feel like it is both. Because, Trey Lance, when he got his opportunities to play, he unfortunately got hurt, but it just didn't really work out with him. And Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel like they were limited with what they could do with Garoppolo. I feel like with Purdy, there's a little bit more to Purdy. I feel like Purdy could take off with it if he has to. I don't know. I feel like the 49ers operate a lot better with Brock Purdy than they ever did with Garoppolo or Trey Lance. Now, part of that you could also say is because, well, they got Christian McCaffrey, which I agree with. But I don't know. For me, it's just watching the 49ers with Purdy, I feel like, he's, like I said, he's operated the offense better than I think some of the other quarterbacks that they've had in the past. But that's just my opinion. And you know what? You got to give Brock Purdy credit. He was the last pick in the draft. It didn't look like this guy was ever going to see the field. But he did. And he has taken full advantage of that. Last year, 4,200 yards passing, 31 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Those are good numbers. And, I know the middle part of the season they struggled, and I got up to that in the receiver series on Netflix because when Deebo Samuel got hurt, they're talking about how much they really miss Deebo. It's a big part of what they do. And that's why, if they lose Brandon Ayuk, how is that going to impact Brock Purdy? Is that really going to negatively impact him, and he's not going to play like how he usually does? But, some of the other quarterbacks that I think are in the top 10, again, everybody evaluates the quarterback position differently and every position differently. But for me, I think having Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great. I talked about it earlier in the show. But I think for me, at least from my perspective on this, when he's coming off of a major injury where he only played 4 snaps, I don't think he should be on the top 10. That's just me. It's purely from him coming off of an injury. I wouldn't put him in the top 10. Matthew Stafford, I thought was a little high on the list. But you know what? He's coming off of a solid year. It's hard. Ranking lists are hard. But that's why, like, I'm doing the quarterback rankings. I mean, within the division, you're only ranking 4 guys. Well, today we did technically 5 because we don't know what the Vikings situation. But 10, 15. I mean, there's guys that rank all 32 quarterbacks. It's hard, and it really all depends on how you evaluate the position. I mean, I get why Rodgers is on the list because again, all-time great, and if he's healthy, he's going to play well. But I think for me, a guy coming off of a major injury and playing only 4 snaps, I don't know if I'm putting him in the top 10. Just because I don't know what to expect from him this year, coming off of that injury. But if he's healthy, should play well. Yeah, I don't think it should be, that easy to say, no, Brock Purdy's outside the top 10. I mean, look at the NFC Championship game against the Lions. You think Jimmy Garoppolo's coming back from 17 points down against the Lions? I don't think so. Now, the 49ers had plays go their way that kind of led them back into the game, but I don't know. I feel like with Garoppolo, it doesn't play out that way. It's I don't know. I think Brock Purdy is solid, but yeah, he does. I mean, if he goes to if he goes to like the Giants or I mean, who else? The Panthers. He's not. He's not going to be the Brock Purdy that we know right now. It'd be completely different. He ended up in a great situation. I think both things can be true. Yeah, it benefits from the system, but you know what? He takes advantage of it. I mean, look at some of these other quarterbacks that are in great situations. I'm bringing up Tua. Tua's in a good situation. But how far has he gotten with the Dolphins? Now, you could also say, well, the 49ers have one of the best defenses in the NFL. The Dolphins last year dealt with a ton of injuries, but still. Look at the offense that Tua has. They have not won a single playoff game. Brock Purdy is going into now year 3, second full year as a starter. He's made it to 2 NFC Championship games, and he's made it to a Super Bowl. And I thought he played good enough in that Super Bowl to win that Super Bowl, but they didn't. So, I don't know. It's going to be a debate that is going to be had for a long time. And if Brock Purdy struggles at all during the season, those Brock Purdy critics are going to come out and say, yeah, he's not the answer. And maybe he isn't the answer. Because at some point, you're going to lose some of these guys. You're not going to have Christian McCaffrey in his prime. He's got I think he's still got a few years left in his prime, and then he's going to, start to decline. George Kittle, how much longer is he going to play? It's going to be different. And the 49ers are going to have a big decision to make because they're going to have to pay him. So that's going to be interesting, how that unfolds. But, yeah, it's just at some point, all these guys that the 49ers have surrounding Brock Purdy are not going to be there. And if they do pay him and give him that contract, how is he going to respond to that? So, but you want to see him succeed. You do. And he's a very likable guy. And, go out there and prove the doubters wrong once again. But I don't think it's as easy as some of these executives think to leave him out of the top 10. Because he did play like a top 10 quarterback last year. But like I said, I'm going to attempt to try to, make my own list. But it's hard because it's like, look, I think Rodgers, if he's healthy, yeah, he plays like a top 10 quarterback. But, like, He's coming off of an injury. I don't know if I want to put him in my top 10. It's hard. Ranking lists are so tough because whatever you do, somebody's not going to be happy with it. But that's what it's all about. It's having different opinions. I think Brock Purdy deserves to be on that list, but again, who are you taking out? Probably Rodgers, maybe. But then you'll have people saying, how could you rank Brock Purdy over Aaron Rodgers? Well, I mean, it's the current version of Aaron Rodgers right now, coming off of a significant injury. You're telling me Aaron Rodgers is healthy and he's going to play like how he did his MVP years. Yeah, Brock Purdy can stay off the top 10. But I think there's other guys that they left out that probably deserve the spot over Rodgers just because he played 4 snaps last year. But again, everybody interprets it differently. But let me know what you guys think, because I know this is something we talked about during the year, last year as well. Is Brock Purdy a system quarterback? Is he not? What are your thoughts? But yeah, I think both things can be true. That's really what it comes down to. So that is pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows as well throughout the day. Get different perspectives on different sports. Right now we're in the All-Star break for baseball, so there's really not a lot happening. We had the Home Run Derby last night. Tonight is the All-Star game. But yeah, we are slowly but surely making our way towards the preseason, and then we're going to get to the real thing, which I can't wait for it. So yeah, that is all the time that we have for today. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows. We'll be back again same time tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.